um, every year, right? We are playing games from 2022. We're playing games from 23. We're playing games that are older than that. No one, unless this is your industry, is playing every single brand new game when it comes out. That's the whole idea of the backlog and how things get added. And I think
And
that's the right way to do it.
and it's basically the backlog situation, right? Like we aren't going to get to all the games, so we are basically making this the top 5 games that we played this year. They could be Chrono Trigger from the 80s. They could be something as new as this, whatever games came out this year that were the top seller. It's gonna be a fun list. But no, it's not all released in 2023. So if you're on that bandwagon, find a new bandwagon.
Yeah. I mean, I can't afford them all. So,
I
with
don't
that
have the
said,
time. I don't think it's possible to have the time to play them all.
I don't think so either. With that said, should we start with number five?
Let's do it. Our number fives. Do you want to kick us off with number five?
So, number five for me is a game that I'm actually finishing up right now called Hello Neighbor 2. I actually found this game because I was done getting slaughtered in Fortnite, and I had just finished God of War, and I had put 50 something hours into God of War, and I was exhausted. And there's always a recuperation period after you play a really long single player game and you get done, you kind of feel out of dopamine and you need something to kind of bring you back up. So I was researching short games on Game Pass so I
Mhm.
could get a nice little slam through this in a few days and pad my gamer score, if you will. And Hello Neighbor 2 came up. I never played the first one. And I will tell you, I was pleasantly surprised. I'm still pleasantly surprised. This is a game that they really force you to look at the environment. So you are essentially going through these various houses, and in each of these houses, there are 4 or 5 puzzles that need to be solved before you can get on to the next house and unlock the next cutscene and move the story along. Every time you go through the house, there are things that you can interact with, and as you try to touch and grab and pull different things, you realize other things can be touched and grabbed and pulled, and you realize there are different angles that you can jump to here. Oh, I never tried to do this. It's like a big giant version of Where's Waldo. So you're looking. You have a wrench, and the wrench does certain things, and you have scissors, and the scissors can only do certain things, and you're going to need those tools to do various things to get the keys to unlock the code to get the thing that you need to get at the end of the level. So I think that Hello Neighbor 2 did a really, really good job putting together, forcing you to look at the environment. And that, if you step on glass, then the person hears you and they run upstairs and they look for you and you got to hide in the closet. And it kind of takes you out of the experience, especially if you can't figure out what to do. Right? I'm old. The people that are really into puzzle games, they're going to bang through this title in an hour. But for me, I'm old and dumb, and half the time I can't figure out what I'm doing, and I need to go slowly. And I wish there was a way I could turn off the neighbors so that I could just explore the house and figure out what needs to be done.
Do you
But
feel like the
overall,
neighbors add a sense of urgency to the gameplay at all? Do you feel like it's forcing you to act quicker, or do you think it's more of a cumbersome element to the game?
yeah, I think that it definitely adds to the experience of like giving you a sense of urgency. Well, obviously you can't stay in a room for very long, but the puzzles are challenging, and so you are looking around for clues. Sometimes they'll put a picture on the wall, or they'll put a smile somewhere, and they'll be like, "Oh, that's a clue about where I could go find." But if you're running through a room over and over and over again just to get the person to disappear, then that can kind of take away from the immersive experience. They don't really explain it. Apparently, there are ways that you can distract them and do things that make it so that they take longer to stay away from you. But I haven't figured that out because I'm not going to watch a guide. But all in all, I like a game that forces you to look at the environment that was developed, and they put such detail into these houses that it's kind of one of those moments when you finish a game and you're like, oh, that's how you did it. And that was there the whole time. And I didn't realize that, that was the switch. Like I looked one up today and I was like, that's so dumb. I
No
walked past that
way.
like 30, I walked past that like 30 times. Time to beat is around 5 hours. It's probably taken me 15 hours because I'm much slower with these type of games, but still worth my time. And that I think that's why it lands number 5 on my list.
That's really
What do you have for your number 5?
My number 5 game of the year is a game called Hogwarts Legacy. And I'm going to start by saying this game deserves more credit than it is getting. So there's two things that I want to talk about when it comes to Hogwarts Legacy. One is the controversy around the game, and two is the game itself. So we're going to clear the air with like the controversy, okay? When this game came out, I feel that it was overlooked and avoided by many in the gaming journalism community because of a toxic situation where people felt that they were offended that others were playing or reviewing this game. So it led to many of the game journalists and personalities not completing this game or completely avoiding it altogether. Now, you just write off a game because of like something going on in the political landscape. Like that's not something that happens very often. And I feel like this game got lost in the shuffle because of that. Cut to like this year, right? Cut to the end of the year. Because of the lack of the coverage of this game, it truly seems like it has completely been snubbed or washed from all Game of the Year lists that I'm seeing right now. Now, as of this recording, not all of those lists are out. I'm sure it's going to pop up somewhere. But what I'm seeing over and over is this game is not being mentioned, not being represented, nothing. And for it being like one of the most popular games of the year right now, like it's really shocking to me that no one's talking about it. So all that to say, like, I'm just disappointed that people aren't like shedding light on this game. Like, if it's a bad game, tell me it's a bad game. But it's like an elephant in the room because there are so many people that bought and played Hogwarts Legacy, yet there's not a lot of outlets that are talking about it. So the lack of coverage feels like a snub. And when I was building my list, I almost wanted to put this game higher on the list because it feels like it's underrepresented in the market. And as I continued to like think through that actual logic, it doesn't seem like a good enough reason for me to lift this like all the way to the top of my list just to say, oh, look, I'm going to do this because. But at the end of the day, like I think this game is really good. I do.
Yeah, I mean it's terrible when people don't have a sense of nuance, right? And you can look at a game from a mechanical standpoint and go like, wow, the ambiance, the environment, the world, the like, hundreds of people put energy into building this over
Right.
several years. And the reality is, even though I never played it, it looks like it was a good game.
I,
And it was right, like, and that's the reality of the situation. It was a good game, and there really isn't anything else that you can say beyond that rather than it was a great experience.
Yeah, and like you look at some of the different reviews, and then we'll move on from this topic. But like, Wired gave it a 1 out of 10, right? Like a 1 out of 10. Like you look at the makeup of this game, and like that is not justifiable in any way, shape, or form if you're just looking at the gaming content, which is what I think people should be doing, right? I understand like the political discourse, but at the end of the day, like if your job is to review games and tell people if they're worth their time, I think you need to do that. So we're gonna leave that behind. I'm gonna move forward and talk about the game next. If this is the first title in this Hogwarts Legacy format. Now, for years we've gotten Harry Potter games, but it's never been to this detail before. And the scale in which they are using the Harry Potter world to build out this game is absolutely ambitious for a first-time title, in my opinion. This feels like if you were going to go make new IP, this game would be getting more attention than it is. But because it's Harry Potter and it's got all this baggage with it, it's getting lost in the shuffle. I think this is a highly ambitious game for them to throw in because of the systems that they've put in, right? The scope of the map, the level of the execution is top notch in regards to the source material. They're going back and referencing things that are in the books, not the movies, in such detail that you can literally read a passage and look at the game and they are following it word for word. Like, it's so impressive how deep this team went to build this out for Harry Potter fans. And I'm really excited to play it. Whimsy and level of detail that they put into Hogwarts alone is breathtaking. And you spend the first couple of hours in the castle going from classroom to classroom and looking in nooks and crannies to like uncover secrets. Like, it feels like you're a student in the hallways of Hogwarts at many times. Then it opens up, you get outside of the castle, and you realize the game is far bigger than the initial scope that you may have thought. And I really think that they have done a good job of integrating so many different systems, right? You're working in a big open world. You're hopping on a broomstick and flying around the map. There's the dark forest from the books that you're venturing into. You have an RPG system where you're plugging skills and unlocking spells, and you're going through the story, and different classes are fitting into the different skill types. Like, it's just very well crafted and created. And then you take the custom out, like the different outfits you can put on. There's a whole base building section in here where you're doing potions and herbs, and all of these different systems click together. And it's really, it feels like a 1.0 of Harry Potter, which is why it may feel like it's not like the 10 out of 10 experience for some, because it does feel like they're finding their footing. But overall, this is a great proof of concept, and it's a really, really good game. Like, I'm loving it. Criticisms: combat, same enemy types, anything that you would see in like a first time venture into any game is what you're seeing as a complaint here. But overall, the combat system they went with, I think, is different than anything I've seen before, right? It is action based. It is similar to like an action based RPG, but at the end of the day, like, I can't even liken it to something I've played before. And for a game of this magnitude to come in and completely throw a new combat system at somebody, it's just really impressive to me. Like overall, whether it have Harry Potter on the box or not, I think it's an impressive title overall.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you're going to take some rich lore that has books and books and books, and you're going to integrate it into a video game, and you do it successfully, and you should get the kudos that you deserve. And for them to have such an integrated environment where the pacing of the game was good, where you had the balance between, right, story driven, right, point A, point B, to like open world, go discover a new cave, go discover a new thing that's going on, and you have that blend of gameplay. I really don't, like I said, that's what people are looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems to me, even though I didn't get to play this game this year, that they succeeded in that.
Yeah, and I believe they did. I got to the end of the game and I was done with the game. Did I do all the side quests? No. Did I 100% it? No. Was I done with the combat by the time I finished it? Yes, I was. It was time to move on. But I do that with every game. I get to the end of any title and I'm like, I'm not doing these side quests. I'm not going to 100% that. And that was true here. Surmise it to say that I heard something that really resonated with me from Luke Stevens Live, which is a channel that I've recently been exposed to. I'm a huge fan of what he does, but essentially what he did in one of his Harry Potter videos is he said, this game is a solid 8. And if you love Harry Potter, you can add a point. And lastly, what I'll say, based on the lead into this event, this topic earlier, is when you watch the Game Awards, this feels like it's the 10,000-pound gorilla in the room. And then just today, as of this recording, you see a Forbes article that comes out that says Hogwarts Legacy is beating Modern Warfare 3 as the best-selling game of 2023. This is the best game of the year, and it's not represented anywhere. And I think that there's something wrong with that, because this is a great game. A lot of people are playing it, and I think it's well worth the time, even if you're remotely into Harry Potter at all. My number 5.
Yeah.
Harry Potter.
Yeah, it's a
Hogwarts Legacy.
Yeah, it's a
There's my soapbox, folks. You're welcome.
Yeah. It's a disappointing scene.